The Girl in the Stone Castle. The massive mahogany doors of Stirling Castle creaked open like echoes from an ancient time. Winter wind swept in, rushing through the icy stone hallways, causing the candles in the crystal chandelier to flicker. And then she stepped in, Hilary wrapped in a charcoal velvet cloak and wearing low-cut leather boots, stood quietly in the grand hall. Her long hair fell freely, a fringe framing her face. She wore no makeup. No one in the room, full of lawyers, relatives, and high society figures, recognized her. An elderly aunt whispered, "Who is that?" A man with sharp eyes looked her up and down and sneered, "Probably a maid." What they didn't know was that the girl they belittled was Hilary Moreau, the only illegitimate child of the late Earl. And today, she would change everything. Stirling Castle stood imposingly atop a gray hill, cloaked in clouds all through the winter. Built of solid stone, it was as majestic as it was cold, much like the people born within its walls. In the grand hall, relatives of Earl Reginald Moreau had gathered from all corners of the globe: London, Paris, Singapore, each carrying ambition and hope. They were dressed in designer clothes, perfumed with extravagance, eyes sharp like blades. Chief Lawyer Edmund Crane, keeper of the final will, stood silently beside a locked steel chest. His expression gave nothing away, but something shimmered in his eyes, something no one noticed. Hilary chose a seat near the window, where the pale outdoor light crept in. Every glance cast her way was like inspecting a blemish. "Probably a tea server," someone whispered, "or one of his old lovers." No must be a joke. Each whisper was a blade, but Hilary didn't flinch. She had endured worse when her mother, once a mere gardener, was shunned by nobility. "What are you doing here?" a sharp-tongued elderly woman asked. Hilary turned to her and replied with a faint smile, "To hear what my father left behind." As all eyes turned to the sealed envelope, tension rose not just because of Hilary's presence, but due to decades of rivalry between family branches. Uncle Rupert, who managed the Moreau conglomerate for over a decade, whispered to his personal attorney. Aunt Margot, head of the family's charity fund, glanced at Hilary with disdain and texted, "If needed, I'll step in." A young couple, children of the youngest brother, filmed Hilary discreetly from afar. "She won't survive this legacy. The press will devour her." A group of cousins huddled together, plotting to challenge the will's validity, hire a signature expert if needed, destroy her credibility before the notary signs off. The room was a stage of masks, but Hilary remained the central character they all wanted to erase. When the lock finally clicked open, the room held its breath. Lawyer Crane pulled out an ivory envelope, sealed with red wax, bearing the Moreau family crest. "I, Reginald Moreau, leave my entire estate to Hilary Rose Moreau." The sentence struck like lightning on a winter sky. A glass fell from an uncle's hand, shattering. "What? Impossible. She's just an illegitimate child." Hilary rose and walked slowly to the front. Every gaze burned into her, but she didn't retreat. "I am his daughter, and I didn't come here to beg, I came to prove it." Crane revealed documents, a birth certificate, handwritten letters, joint savings accounts, and even a video from last autumn, father and daughter in a rose garden, laughing like they had shared a lifetime of love. Silence spread through the hall. The loudest objectors shrank back. Some pretended they hadn't mocked her, but undercurrents stirred. This wouldn't end quietly. People began to leave. Some avoided Hilary's gaze. Some looked at her with envy, and some, for the first time, bowed their heads. She stepped out into the cold stone corridor, passing the grand portrait of Earl Reginald. His painted eyes seemed to follow her, silent, proud. Hilary didn't smile, but her eyes sparkled brighter than ever. This castle had once rejected her. Now it was hers. She turned back once, looked at the now empty room, and whispered, "I'm home, Father, and I will live worthy of the faith you had in me. If Hillary's story touches you, share it, so that those who've been dismissed know that truth will rise, and no one can silence a resilient heart forever. Hillary thought everything ended with the reading of the will, but what came after was the fiercest battle of all. The next morning's Morning Herald headline read, "The Secret Heir of the Moreau Dynasty, Truth or Conspiracy." Papers across Europe reported on the girl in the gray cloak, who claimed the entire Sterling Empire, though no one had known she existed. The Moreau Corporation came under pressure. Stocks fell. Investors demanded to meet Hillary. Disinherited family members launched a campaign. Unmask the girl without a name. A journalist disguised as a servant snuck into the castle and snapped photos of Hillary reading her father's letters. A popular blogger spread rumors she had worked at a nightclub in Budapest. Malicious comments flooded the internet, but Hillary didn't back down. She appeared in public dressed plainly, signing her first deal with a Japanese partner. She bowed and spoke softly with a northern-tinged English accent. "I wasn't born to inherit, but I was chosen for my loyalty." To her critics, she didn't sue or retaliate. She released everything: audio clips, letters, conversations with her father about trust. Inside the castle, many rooms were left empty. Some longtime staff departed, fearing scandal, but new ones came bearing real loyalty. One elderly chef from her mother's village said, "I owed your mother a bowl of soup. Today, I cooked to repay it." Hillary walked through every chamber and touched every cold wall, reclaiming a legacy once deemed unworthy of her hands. She restructured the corporation, created scholarship funds, and rebuilt the town's hospital in her mother's name. And on a rainy June evening, she stood on the highest balcony, looking down at a valley bathed in golden light where wild roses bloomed as if war had never touched them. The company she led had grown stronger. Members of the family, those who once scorned her, began to return, but not to claim the estate. This time, they came to face the truth. Hillary sent invitations to all a private gathering at the castle's antique tea room. The card read, "Not to divide inheritance, but to reclaim dignity and memory." Aunt Margot arrived first, draped in blood-red silk. She didn't greet anyone, just sat, poured tea, and said, "If your father were alive, he would never have let this happen." Hillary looked her in the eye. "If he were alive, he would have told you what he told me. No bloodline is noble if it knows not how to love." Rupert, the former corporate head, entered last. He looked older, burdened with remorse. He placed a small wooden box before Hillary. Inside was the pocket watch their father once wore. "He left this for me," Rupert said, voice low, "but I know it was never mine." Hillary didn't take it right away. She asked, "Did you ever see me as family?" Rupert was silent for a long time. "No, but now I regret it." Facing the ones who once humiliated her, Claudia, the niece who spread memes mocking Hillary, stood frozen. As Hillary approached, "I know," Hillary said. "I can't make you like me. But you had influence, and you chose to use it to tear others down." Claudia bowed her head, voice shrinking. I didn't think you'd ever see it. I saw, and I forgave, but I did not forget." As twilight painted the stained glass windows, Hillary walked each guest out, not with resentment, but not with indulgence either. Some turned back, as if to say something, but Hillary simply stood there, leaning on the stone railing, quietly. What none of them knew was that she had recorded the entire gathering not to retaliate, but to preserve a moment when truth shattered every prejudice. Hillary flew into Naples. In the chill of early spring, she rented a small car and drove along the Amalfi Coast, where ancient villages clung to cliffs overlooking the deep blue Mediterranean. Every curve, every mountain pass, felt like a puzzle piece wrapped in fog, just like her own mind. The location marked on her map was an abandoned monastery atop Monte San Luca, once a World War sanatorium. She booked a room in a nearby village under an alias, but it didn't take long for Hillary to realize she was being followed. A strange man appeared several times near her lodging, his eyes piercing and cold, one hand always tucked inside his coat. One morning, she found her car tires slashed. In her jacket pocket was a scrap of paper, "Turn back if you want to live." But instead of retreating, Hillary rented a bicycle and continued the mountain trek. The wind howled. Sudden rain pelted down, but she didn't stop. In her bag was a photo of her father, thinner, but with the same eyes from a video she had watched to the point of memorization. At the monastery, she found a locked room. When she managed to pry it open, she discovered a wooden desk, some torn letters, and a medical journal. The notes were brief. Patient remains lucid. No external contact. Name RM. Risk of assassination if exposed. Hillary trembled with both anger and fear. Her father had been here. He might still be nearby. That night, a black Jeep without plates parked at the village gate. She hid in the monastery's old animal shed, recorder and encrypted phone at the ready. The man who had followed her stepped out, but this time, he wasn't alone. A second man emerged, tall, gaunt, slow, and Hillary stopped breathing. That face, it couldn't be mistaken. It was her father, Reginald Moreau, in flesh and blood, but he wasn't smiling. His eyes were distant, almost vacant. "Father?" Hillary whispered, but Reginald didn't react. The man beside him tightened his grip on his shoulder, guarding him. A cold voice spoke. "He doesn't remember anyone, and if you take another step, he dies." Hillary stood frozen in the rain for the first time in her life. Her heart didn't break from loss, but from sheer helplessness. Still, she didn't retreat, not after coming this far. The next morning, she returned to the old monastery. She knew one thing: if her father's memory had truly been stolen, only fragments of love, raw and deep, could bring him back. She quietly left a box outside the stone house where the man had taken him. Inside were simple things: an old embroidered handkerchief from her mother, a photo of 5-year-old Hillary on his shoulders, and a worn leather notebook where he once wrote poetry. Every day she returned to the stone courtyard, reading aloud letters her father had written long ago, unsent words. Her voice was steady and low, echoing through the silence, like a soul calling home. On the third day, the watcher returned, but this time, he carried no threat. He tossed her a handwritten letter, unsigned. "He's beginning to remember, but we can't hold him much longer. If you truly believe he's your father, go to Cinque Nati Valley, the place you once camped as a child. Maybe that place will awaken him." Hillary didn't hesitate. She left that night. Cinque Nati was remote, tucked in the Italian wilderness, known only to a handful of old locals. She found the campsite now, just stone remnants overgrown with weeds. But by the stream, the ancient maple still stood where Reginald once carved. R plus H equals. She pitched a tent nearby, built a fire, and began recounting childhood memories like rewinding a forgotten film. 2 days later, as a light rain fell, a familiar figure appeared at the forest edge. Reginald free, no longer guarded, no longer lost. A father, trembling, but walking toward her with steady steps. "Hillary?" he asked softly. She cried, but smiled. "I'm here, Dad." He said nothing more. He sat beside her, eyes fixed on the flames. One hand reached for hers, slowly, as if recalling an old memory. "We've been here before," he murmured. "You said you wanted to live where there were more trees than people." Hillary nodded. "And you said, if you plant kindness like others plant seeds, you'll grow a forest." Reginald chuckled, his first in years, and Hillary knew he had returned. They returned to Stirling Castle one misty afternoon. The rusted iron gates creaked open, slowly, like history, moaning as it stirred awake. No one in the castle knew they were back. Hilary wanted to observe first. From the second floor, she peered into the great hall, no longer a place for wills, but now the quiet hub of a new power network, orchestrated by a familiar name, Lucas Gran, Reginald's once trusted senior advisor. He had arranged the staged accident, altered medical records, and induced Reginald's amnesia to seize control from the shadows. Hilary placed her father in a safe room, then entered the library alone, where Lucas sat reading the paper with a glass of wine. "So you came back," he said without looking up. "And you," Hilary replied, "never left but haven't belonged here for a long time." Lucas set down the glass, eyes locked on her. "What do you plan to do? Speak out. No one will believe you." "I control the press. The board owes me more than they ever owed your father." Hilary pulled a USB drive from her coat. "This contains a full recording of your conversation with Dr. Giordano, the one who falsified my father's diagnosis. Voices, dates, intent, and it's set to auto-upload to 3 international agencies. If I don't log in within 48 hours, Lucas froze. His face went pale like wax. "You could have chosen loyalty," Hilary said, voice steady, "but you chose betrayal. And today, you leave this castle forever." The library doors opened. 2 internal security officers entered, followed by lawyer Edmund Crane and Reginald. Though thinner, Reginald's eyes, once veiled now, shone clear, just as they had in his prime. He nodded at Hilary, then turned to Lucas. "You didn't just betray me," he said. "You betrayed the family I once believed you belonged to." Lucas was taken away. No defense, no schemes left to hide behind. His shadow faded down the cold stone corridor. Hilary and Reginald stood in the library, the heart of the family's knowledge. She turned to him. "I don't want revenge. I just want the truth to have a place." He squeezed her hand. "And you've done what I never dared fully do." A week later, Hilary opened the library windows, no longer filled with the stench of conspiracy, but the lavender breeze from the newly restored garden. She stood in silence, watching golden sunlight stretch across the stone path where once she had walked in with nothing but a canvas bag and a frozen heart. Reginald sat in the music room, playing old melodies. His memory wasn't fully restored, but he remembered what mattered: her name, her mother's smile, and the words, "Love never disappears. It merely slumbers." Hilary didn't take the chairman title, despite expectations. Instead, she formed a leadership council of those once sidelined: a gardener, an honest accountant, a project engineer pushed out by Lucas. She handed back power, but kept responsibility. One early morning, Hilary wrote the final lines in her mother's worn leather journal. "I once believed there was no room in this world for a child born without noble blood, but today, that world has changed because I didn't give up." She placed her mother's portrait beside the ancestors in the grand hall, an unspoken, eternal affirmation. As the sun cast a rainbow through stained glass onto the gray stone wall, Hilary whispered to her father, "I don't want to change history. I just want to continue it." In the light, he held her hand, and in the castle once veiled in shadow, for the first time in centuries, spring truly began. If you find value in this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and join us on the journeys to come. Like this video to help spread messages of love, healing, and inspiration to even more people. And don't hesitate to leave a comment. We're always here to listen to you. Thank you for being here. Every subscription from you is a powerful encouragement for us to continue sharing stories that touch the heart.